Here's what we started out with. It's a Franklin $50, 90% silver, minted in 1962. What we're after is the "In God We Trust" and the Liberty to show up on a ring. We're going to make a ring out of it. I'm going to show you my process that I go through to make these rings out of this $50. We got this $50 chucked up in the lathe here. This is a little step drill, and we're going to drill a 1/4 inch hole in this thing. We're going to file the reeded edge off this coin. Now the idea behind this thinning this ring down is that these coins are thicker in places than they are in others, and we want it to be even when we get done with it. We're going to enlarge this hole in the middle of this coin. It's still a coin right now. Hope we'll be able to call it a ring before it's over with. But there's what we wound up with here. Alright, here's this ring. We're going to deburr this thing. This is the annealing process. Silver gets work hardened as you bend it around. Now we've got a little 25-degree die, that homemade one, and a pusher, both made out of Delrin. And we're going to put this blank in the die with the detail turned down. That's the part we want to be the outside. Now what we're going to try to do is to make this ring smaller. We started out with a great big old hole in it. We're going to put this, that just stretched it out just a little bit. We're going to put this in the in this 5-degree die with the wide part turned down, and we're going to lubricate this die. This is just some petroleum jelly that I mixed a little bit of Marvel Mystery Oil with. Now, in case you didn't catch on, this has got a little bitty lip turned on it. This is a homemade deal I made, and that holds it straight. We're going to put it down in this die, and we don't wrap it in Teflon tape or anything yet because it's not really touching the edge of it. And here we go. We're going to try to shrink this down a little bit. Here's a little piece of dogwood that I used to knock it back out of there. That did pretty good. Did pretty good. Now, let's see. I should be able to go to the next size die here. And I can. Put a little bit of this lubrication in it. We've gotten down to the point where I think we'd be smart to wrap it in Teflon tape now. I've used several different things, including these blue paper towels to cushion that thing. These letters are not stamped that deep into these coins, and you got to really be careful to keep from destroying what you started out with. Got it in the same pusher, a little bit smaller die. And we attempt to get this thing just as straight as we can in there before we start pushing on it. Just eyeball it. Looks straight to me. By thinning these coins down, they bend a little bit easier too. Let's see what size this is. We're at about a 12 3/4 right there. I'm going to put it back in this same pusher. Wrap some of this blue paper towel around this thing. That's 11 3/4 there. Now we're going to jump back to one of these pushers that doesn't have a lip on it. We got this thing wrapped up here. Now we got the small side down to about a 10. I believe we can go to a little bit smaller die now. We can. Let's lubricate it up though. Now that's what we were shooting for. We want it straight across. One side is wide as the other. And the inside is pretty much duplicated what's on the outside too. So that's the reason for thinning the inside, one of the reasons for thinning the inside of those coins down. We're at a 9 3/4. And about a 9 1/4 on this one. Now we've got the outside like we want it, so we're going to deal with the inside. We'll work with our little carbide burr. Now we're working with a little bit of 80 grit sandpaper. We're going to get out our little deburring tool, and we're going to soften the inside edge of this thing. Now we're going to go to some 120 grit. These sanding things I've got are just homemade things that I made out of some 1/2 inch Delrin rod and wrapped some stick-it paper around them. We go up through the grit. This is some 320 grit. Pretty smooth on the inside there. I hope you can see that. Now we're going to measure it. That's 10 1/4 on that side. Just a little bit bigger on this side, but we can stretch that out with a ring stretcher and make it even. I just want to make this thing fit my finger. We're back over here at our lathe again. We're going to put our little homemade jig on here. It's tapered and we like to use this to kind of bevel the edges. Now we'll turn it around. Now this side is really close to that In God We Trust, but I've still got to, we can't leave it sharp. Straight on the inside, straight on the outside. Now we're going to go here to a ring stretcher and try to make it fit my finger. We're going to measure this thing, and it's at about 10 1/2 right there. And I wear about 11 1/4. So we're going to try to stretch this thing out. And that's about 10 1/2 on that side. And pretty much the same on the other. That says 11 right there on that side. And that's mighty close to 11 right there. Just a little bit more. That's close to 11 1/4 right there. Need a little bit more on this side. Eleven 1/4. Just a little right there, just a hair. 11 1/4 on each side. Slides on my finger real well. It's narrow enough. We just need to do a little bit of fine tuning and polishing, and we will have us a ring out of this coin. Now we're going to use some 400 grit paper and water. Now we're going to use a little bit of jeweler's rouge on this thing. That silver's some pretty stuff when it's polished up. It's got a pretty color to it. I I like the looks of it. Here's the finished product. I don't know how well you can see that. In God We Trust just stands out great on this ring, and the Liberty, of course, it's upside down from the In God We Trust. But that meets my expectations mighty well. The thickness is right. It's not too thick. It's not uncomfortable. Fits on my old rough finger mighty well. I don't know if that'll focus on that or not, but there it is.